What's up, guys? I'm Lil'Shane, aka Deck Knight, and this is my fantasy football video show. What's up, Leftovers League? That's right, I'm back. Lil'Shane here to talk about Week 2 in the 2023 CBS Sports Podcast Leftovers League. This week was a week of blowouts. The closest game was within 6 points, but all the other games had a margin of 47.39 points on average. The schedule gods were not nice to half of the league this week. The biggest blowout was actually my game, losing to Dylan Raspberry by over 61 points. Suck. Ugh. Anyway, that's why I'm 0-2 now. Anyway, fun week to watch. The offenses finally came alive. The defenses either didn't play as well or they're just tired from playing so well from week 1. Now, I'm not talking about my Cowboys. Obviously, Micah Parsons ate his lunch again with another New York team, and they're finished with now their path of completely demoralizing both teams in the city of New York. Sorry about you, Adam. All right, but let's get off started talking about the only game that was actually worth watching this week, and I'm talking about Adam's Apology Meter versus Patrick Sager. So, both teams scored below the median, but even with Nick Chubb getting hurt, Patrick was able to use his first-round pick, Jalen Hurts, to elevate him over his opponent. Mike Evans showed that he can still play at a high level. I mean, the guy's 31 years old. I mean, I remember when he was playing for that school. Ugh. Right there. And but anyway, the boy can still ball. Even with Baker Mayfield, he did leave 27.9 points on the bench and Brian Robinson, and 24.1 points on the bench with Nico Collins, which usually I like to make fun of people for doing that kind of stuff, but he didn't need him. He won anyway. I mean, he would have helped his point total, I guess. But he was all good. He didn't need those points to pull out the win. This brings Patrick to 2-0, and I'm not really worried about his team because even though he suffered some injuries, Montgomery got hurt, Chubb got hurt, Garrett Wilson's a Jet with no Aaron Rodgers. He might as well be hurt. Kenny Pickett sucks. But he also missed out on the Jerome Forbes sweepstakes, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But he has Cooper Kupp coming back. Maybe Cooper Kupp, Brian Robinson, and Nico Collins can keep his team rolling a little bit. Probably just going to keep going status quo. We will see. On the other side, Adam's Apology does have the number 1 quarterback in fantasy in Kirk Cousins. Funny enough. But the rest of his team was decently underwhelming other than my boy, CeeDee Lamb, and one big play from George Pickens. Breece Hall could have actually helped him. Breece Hall should have helped him win his matchup this week. But Micah Parsons was like, no, don't come in my house, And he broke him. And Dalvin Cook was even at like a negative point total. And anyway, it was just not good for anyone on the Jets. It's not going to be good for anybody playing Cowboys defense this season, which is going to be a lot of fun for me. Tony Pollard had a decent day, but he couldn't find the end zone. But he would have needed to start Stroud over Baker and JSN or Kincaid over Breece Hall to beat Patrick. And those scenarios were just never going to happen. So, yes, it was the closest game, but Patrick got the victory, and he got it fair and square. So a common theme in all these games is that no one really had a chance to win any of them if they were on the lower half of getting blown out. I kind of went through everyone's bench, and there's nothing anyone really could have done. The fate was sealed when the schedule was released and the draft was done. Even oh boy could have started Puka Nacua instead of negative 0.3 points Dalvin Cook. He still would have had enough points to overcome Make Canada Great Again's 155.58 points. MCGA did the damage with his DST and Raheem Mostert. Had a couple of good games from his top 2 wide receivers, and the points just added up. My Cowboys DST played well, but they couldn't save, oh boy, leftovers this time. I was involved in the biggest blowout of them all, like I said before, and my team continues to struggle through 2 weeks. Jamar Chase is on the Bengals, who are in trouble. I rage sat Drake London to punish him for his performance last week, and of course he scored and did okay. My quarterbacks were respectable, but when 3 of my starting running backs are in the single digits, including a disappearing act from Samaje Perine, what the heck was that all about? It's going to be almost impossible for me to win. I would have only beaten one other team this week, and that is why I am towards the bottom of the table after 2 weeks. Dylan Raspberry, on the other hand, scored the most points in the league with 5 of his players scoring multiple touchdowns. I figured it'd be going down from like Higgins versus Jamar Chase. Is kind of the way I saw it going through before the week started, but it wouldn't have mattered. Higgins won that battle by far. Josh Jacobs struggled a bit, but everyone else on his team seemed to hit just fine. He had just one of those weeks to bounce back from week 1 and got his team up to 500, so well done. I sold my soul for Jerome Ford, trying to desperately find a replacement for J.K. Dobbins, so I'm hoping that to get back on track against Brittany's team next week. Brittany, head-to-head and coming after you, girl. Speaking of Brittany's team, that was this week's Game of the Week. It's the Game of the Week. It's the Game of the Week. It's who took on Adam Penning's team this week. That's right. Brittany faced Adam and Heath's For the People in this week's Game of the Week. I know I sang her praises last week, but she ran into our commissioners who put up 165 points. Well, Tua didn't have the game that he had last week, but Danny Dimes put up a lot more than 0 this go-around. I bet Adam's happy about that, that's for sure. As difficult as it was for Adam to watch his football Giants play last week, he had a hell of a game this week. It was an incredible comeback game. I very much dislike the Giants, but I can pay respect where it is due, unless you play for Oklahoma. Different story. Besides Danny, Tyler Lockett had a boom week, which is why you start him through all the busts. And their first 2 picks, Bijan and CMC, did their jobs combining for 40 points. They left big games from Russell Wilson and Gabe Davis on the bench, but again, it didn't matter. They bring their record up to 1-1 due to lackluster play from Brittany's team. She may have her second QB hurt in 2 weeks, but at least in this case, Burrow will not be out for the season. He may not even play next week. Who knows? So hang in there, Britt. But also, you could really benefit from some trades, girl. Make sure everyone's checking their trades and direct messages, by the way. Wink, wink. That's just kind of courteous for everybody. Turn your own notifications on. Set it up to send you an email, just so everyone knows what's going on. It's difficult to play fantasy football with people you don't know around the country, and you don't have their cell phone numbers to text them, that kind of stuff. So just pay attention to your app. Check it once a day. Just a little bit of advice. Okay. Finally, we get to Get Richardson versus Draft Grade A+, who again showed that his draft grade is legit. Pat Mahomes, T.J. Hawkinson, Devontae Smith, and the Bucs DST were all over 20 points this week. He didn't even need Jalen Waddle, who I think is one of the best people on his team. This team can really be scary if he decides to address the running back position. He hasn't needed them yet, but the bad news is that Madison may have his work cut into by Cam Akers. But then again, he has Zach Moss, who could put up some production for another week or 2. So Get Richardson at all costs. Had solid play from his 2 QBs and Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff, but that really was about it. This is why, even in a super flex, you can't just win with quarterback play. Giants DST putting up a goose egg didn't help matters either, and he ended up with the lowest points of the week. He's the only team that my miserable team would have beaten. So, through 2 weeks, we have 3 undefeated teams. Make Canada great again, Draft Grade A+, and Patrick Sager. None of them have lost yet, and MCGA has scored the most points through 2 weeks. Then we have 4 1-1 teams and 3 0-2 teams with Adam's apology meter at the bottom of the pack, who is going to be kind of in an uphill battle all year due to his 0 score in week 1. So you're going to have to win games, dude. You're not going to be able to rely on your score. Okay. Congratulations to me for winning the Jerome Ford sweepstakes for $80, Fab. I don't know. Oof. I don't know if that was worth it, but I had to address. I knew that I was already 0-2. I had to change something. So, you play to win. You don't play to tie. You don't play to be mediocre. So I swung for the fences. We'll see how that goes. Draft grade A+. You are undefeated, but you are playing a team managed by the great Heath Cummings next week. So you're going to be tested and have your first opportunity to have massive bragging rights about beating one of your heroes. Okay. Very cool stuff. Once again, Adam and Heath, I really appreciate you putting this league together. It's a lot of fun. Thanks you guys for listening to my videos. Let me know what you think in the chat. Again, turn on your notifications. Let's keep the conversation about this week going. And that's it. Everyone, good luck in week 3. Dak Knight is out. What? Patrick Sager acquires Kyron Williams from Make Canada Great Again. And Make Canada Great Again gets Jake Ferguson and Garrett Wilson. What?